Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the January meeting of Montgomery County Fire and Rescue. Happy New Year to everybody. Ms. Hill, could you open us with a prayer tonight?
I'll be quick. Father, we pray that you'll be with us tonight as we do this important work. I thank you for all the first responders of the county and throughout the country. We pray for the people in California that are affected by the fires and the firefighters that are there and the other first responders. I ask that you continue your blessings. In your name we pray. Amen.
Thank you. Next item on our agenda is for public address. Don't see anybody for public address. Approval of the minutes. The minutes Michael sent out to everybody by email. Or entertain a motion for approval.
So moved. Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussions? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Minutes are approved as recorded. Thank you, Bob. We're gonna do a little bit of rearranging on our agenda tonight. We have a presentation for the NRVCS co-responder program. That will be Joseph Thacker. So I'll turn the floor over to you.
Okay, thank you. Like you said, my name is Joey Thacker. I am the co-response coordinator and law enforcement liaison with New River Valley Community Services. Co-response is a new program in Montgomery County, new-ish. It's about 6 months old now. We started July 1st. We've been working on it though for about a year and a half. So what I'm presenting to you today is kind of a training that we put on for area law enforcement, first responders, really anyone who will listen to us about what we're doing and how it can kind of mesh and maybe help some of the things that you guys are doing. So I guess the overall plan is to give you a little bit of an idea of what we're doing, let you see the presentation, and then hopefully come out and give the firefighters and rescue squad members the full training, which actually takes about 50 minutes to an hour. We've gotten it pretty streamlined to about that time frame. So if that works for you guys, that's kind of what our goal is. So my background is in law enforcement, so if you have clinical questions about mental health things, I know a little bit, but I'm by no means do I have a master's degree in social work or mental health. I was a police officer for 20-some years, so that's my background. If we go to the second slide in the handout that you have, it says Marcus Alert System Overview. So in 2000, there was an emergency session brought up by the General Assembly in Virginia in relation to the George Floyd, the civil uprisings that we were having at that time. And they came up with the two code sections, if you can read them, it's 37.2 and the 9.1, which created the Marcus Alert program in Virginia. And what that is it's a way for localities to serve the mental health population a little bit better. And kind of what they came up with is what we're doing now, and they said everyone has to do it. Everyone in Virginia has to do Marcus Alert. They came back in 2021 and found out that that was not feasible. So in Montgomery County, we're pretty lucky. It's a pretty big area. We have some pretty good resources. But I always say Dublin because that's where I'm still a part-time police officer. If you look at Dublin Police Department, they have 10 police officers. There's no way in the world they can have a special response to every mental health call that comes into place. So what they did is they put a 40,000 population cap on it. So if you have 39,999 residents, you don't have to take part unless you want to. If you have 40,000 or more, or you're an Institute of Higher Education, then you have to take part. Well, Institute of Higher Education that has live-in students that live on campus, and then a police department. like Virginia Tech, Radford University. So basically this came as a response to a shooting that happened in Richmond where a gentleman who had his first, we're thinking had his first psychotic break at the age of 24 was shot and killed by a police officer who was completely within his rights. Two Commonwealth attorneys cleared the shooting and said it was a good shooting. But it created, again, this is the George Floyd era where things were really starting to pop off about police use of force. So this is what we came up with. The good thing is it's going to pair a clinician from NRVCS with a police officer, and they're going to be able to answer calls together, which is pretty nice. We'll go over that a little more here in a second about what we're doing actually in Montgomery County. If you flip down to slide number 6, it'll say 4-level triage framework. So these are the questions and these are the things that our dispatch center will come up with and ask questions for, so to see what kind of call for service this mental health call will come into. So Jason and his group have been trained pretty well, in my opinion anyway, about how to work EMD style calls and do EMD style dispatch to triage the same kind of framework, even though it's going to go to the law enforcement community. It's all very similar calls with a call tree, just like they do for medical dispatch. Anyway, so if they get a call for service from a distressed caller, you'll see level 1 routine from a distressed caller who has no homicidal thoughts, no suicidal thoughts, just isn't really mentally doing well, and they would be appropriate for over the phone help, and then maybe in-person help within the next couple of days. That's going to be considered a level 1 call for service. Level 2 call for service is considered moderate, and that is a distress caller. It's a step up, no homicidal thoughts, loose suicidal thoughts and ideations with a loose plan, but hasn't really gone forward with it. So let's say I'm having suicidal thoughts and I call dispatch, but I don't have a weapon, I don't have any pills, I haven't really thought about how I would do these things. It's just I'm not really feeling good about myself and I'd like to kill myself. That type of call for service. Or if someone is calling in and they have noticed that maybe a family member has started doing what we call non-suicidal self-injury, so cutting and burning, and it's got to a point where it's become kind of dangerous. That would be considered a moderate call for service or a level 2 call for service. Level 3 is a definite step up, so active aggression, florid psychosis, which means active psychosis, possible homicidal thoughts, definitely suicidal thoughts, definitely a plan in place. They just haven't started the plan yet. So suicidal, have a gun, the gun's in the other room. If things don't get a little bit better here in the next little bit, I'm probably going to kill myself. I'm trying to paraphrase, how they would say it. That would be considered a level 3 call for service or an urgent call. And a level 4 call for service, excuse me, but this is just how I say it in the training, pretty much the crap's hit the fan. They're suicidal, they're homicidal, they're active aggression, florid psychosis, weapon in hand, it's getting ready to happen. And that's considered a level 4 or emergent call for service. If you read into that a little bit, they start talking about magistrate issued ECOs. That we've kind of changed how we're doing that, but I'll talk about all that here in 1 second. So if you switch to the next slide, the local response. So what we've decided as a group in the Montgomery County area, how we're gonna respond to these calls. So for that level 1 call for service, or that kind of not too bad call for service, person, maybe the thought process of maybe the world would be better if I wasn't in it type of thing. 911 or a PSAP, which is dispatch, will actually transfer that call over to 988, which is the new suicide hotline. And they'll do what's called a warm handoff. They'll talk to the dispatcher or the clinician on the other end, and that's really it. So where that used to come to us, that used to come to rescue a lot. For people who maybe even voluntarily want to go to the hospital, they call for rescue. We don't even get that call for service. They transfer that over and it doesn't go out. A level 2 call for service, so again, a step up, maybe a pretty distinct plan in how they would like to commit suicide. They just haven't furthered that plan. Still no homicidal ideations. Again, they would transfer that person over to 988. And if 988 determines that that is an actual level 2 call for service, they actually transfer them over to mobile crisis, which is different than co-response, but mobile crisis, and they'll send out a clinician to the home. And again, law enforcement, rescue, fire, they don't even get notified unless there's a problem and they would like to have us come, help them once they get there. The thought process is a level 2 call for service. They need to see somebody that day. It's just the police and fire and rescue are not the people they need to see. They need to see a clinician in home. A level 3 call for service, again, that's the pretty big step up. It's gotten pretty dangerous at this point, so we are going to send what we're calling co-response out, and they will handle that call for service. And that's going to be where the clinician and the police officer arrive together and handle that call. A level 4 call for service is just like it's always been. If it's that kind of bad, they're just going to send the closest police officer. They might have you guys stage. Level 3, they might even have you guys stage. Level 4, definitely have you guys stage. And they're going to handle it kind of business as usual. And if they can get it to where it's calm on scene, the co-response unit might come in and start talking to the person. But if it's really, really bad, it's just going to happen just like it always has. They're going to end up taking it to the hospital on an emergency custody order, and just kind of what we're used to having happen. That's how it will happen for a level 4 call for service. I'm sorry I'm talking fast, but I want to keep it under your time limit, so I do apologize. So if we go down to slide number 10, it's kind of got it's orange on my screen. I think it's grayish on your screen. It says behavioral health co-response in Montgomery County. So this is what we're doing. This is all those code sections say that your jurisdiction has to come up with a specialized response option for level 3 and level 4 calls for service. Our specialized response option that the sheriff and the three chiefs being Christiansburg, Blacksburg, and Virginia Tech have come up with is called co-response. And we're doing what's called a ride-along model, which means that the clinician and the police officer are a dedicated team, and that's their job now. They answer these calls for service, and that's really all they do, unless they're requested special circumstances to do something else. The good thing is that pairs the clinical capability of the clinician and the people who this is their job and they like to actually deal with this kind of thing, whereas police officers and first responders, that's not exactly what we got into doing this. We'll do it if we have to, but this is their job and it's what they want to do. Pairs that with the safety and security of the police officer and what they can do and what they're trained to do. And again, it's a full-time team. We created 4 multi-jurisdictional co-response team, 1 from each police department in Montgomery County. So Blacksburg, Christiansburg, the county, and Tech all have a police officer that they've dedicated to co-response. To name them, from Blacksburg, it's Combs, Shannon Combs. From Christiansburg, it's Victor Campos. From Montgomery County, it's Wes Osborne, and from Tech, it's Jared Reese. And they've given us them, and they have countywide jurisdiction under the agreements that they already had in place. So you might see a Blacksburg police car, well, it'll be unmarked, but an unmarked gray Blacksburg police car in Shawsville, for example, because they have countywide jurisdiction to do this work. NRV 911 will dispatch the co-response teams to some level 2 calls for service, depending on whether or not the mobile crisis is available, because of funding and manpower, like everyone else. Sometimes they're unavailable. So co-response might go to some level 2 calls for service, definitely level 3 calls for service, and be back up on level 4 calls for service. Work together to de-escalate individuals, hoping for better outcomes when it comes to maybe not having to ECO someone, because there's way more out there for clients going through mental health crisis than ECOs. And I don't even know what all ECS has, to tell you the truth, because we have 800 employees. There's a bunch of stuff we can do. And the clinicians know all that. So they can maybe, where we would automatically ECO someone, maybe now we can take them to the crisis center or one of the other 100 options that we have. The next slide. You guys don't really care about this, but they'll also and do self-initiated stuff. So they do follow-ups, and they might self-initiate themselves. If they for some reason were able to read a call for service that you guys are going on and see that there might be a mental health aspect to that call, they are supposed to have some communication with people and say, hey, we think we would be beneficial here. Would you like us to come? And hopefully, I don't know why anyone wouldn't want them to come, because like I said, it kind of takes us away from something that isn't really our thing, and puts the professionals in where it is there. The clinicians do have radio numbers, so if you hear CR 90 through CR 90, it says 95, but 94 actually. Those are our co-response teams. If you hear them on the radio, something's probably gone pretty wrong, or they're marking on service, because they really should be on the radio that much. They do have radios, but they shouldn't be on it that much. You will get trained on that. The initial schedule for them that we're still using is there's a 7-day-a-week coverage, 14 hours a day. So one group will start at 10 and work from 10 to 10, and the other group will come in at noon and work from noon to midnight. Jason doesn't know it yet, but we're gonna get ready to ask them to do a big favor for us. And we're gonna look at whether or not we're missing calls times, and we might adjust their schedule now that we've been in it 6 months, maybe a little bit later into the early morning hours. Right now, we have Virginia Tech rotating with Montgomery County, so whenever those two are working, they're working in those two shifts. And then they work a normal police, the 2 on, 2 off, 3 on, 2 off, 3 off, whatever that schedule is. So Virginia Tech and Montgomery County are working at the same time, and the 2 burbs are working at the same time. And so far that's worked pretty well, but like I said, I think we're missing some calls from midnight to 2 a.m. So we're gonna, if it's an overwhelming amount of calls, you might see that change. We might be working later into the morning. Other than that, there's a lot more in the training. In the training, we go over some definitions, some stuff that people might not understand. They might hear ideations and not really understand what that means compared to like a plan and all that stuff. And we also go into what mobile crisis is and what 988 is a little more in depth. And we go a little bit more in depth into the background of why we're doing this. But like I said, I didn't want to cut too much into your time. So that's kind of what we're doing. And it's in 6 months, we've answered over 240 calls. We've saved, I think 300, high 200s, low 300 hours of manpower for the departments, calls for service that we've handled. And we have a 10.5% ECO rate, which is super low. And that's just mental health calls. So if you have a mental health call that you used to go to a police officer, me for example, if I went on a call and someone said, I think I'm gonna kill myself, it was an ECO, because I didn't want to get in trouble for not ECOing them, right? Because that's what we do. Now, clinicians can come in and dissect what they're saying and maybe have them go voluntarily to another resource. And 10% of those calls, where it used to probably be 75% of those calls, ended up in ECO. So we're really making a pretty good dent in things. And we appreciate you guys having us, and we look forward to hopefully getting some of your people trained on what we're doing so they can better understand and better utilize us, because that's what we hired these clinicians to do, is take the onus and the trouble off of you guys and bring it where it needs to be within NRVCS. So thank you. Are there any questions? Again, if you want to know about diagnosis or medications, I can't tell you a thing about that, but I can tell you a whole lot about co-response.
I've got a quick question.
Yes, sir.
If we're called for service, and we see the person, patient, whatever there is having some mental health issues, can we initiate that?
Oh, yes. All you do is,
even if it's not a suicidal thing? We can still-
any mental health,
You
any
guys
mental
will-
health. If the triage framework is for calls for service, but if you get there and you're already there and see that there's a mental health aspect to what you're doing, even if it's pretty like level-wise, a level 1 state of emergency type thing, call us. If it's during those timeframes and there's someone available, that's what they're there for. So they'll come and like I said, they're in unmarked cars. We wanted them to not be in police uniforms, but we got way overridden on that. So they're still in a police uniform, but the clinician is in plain clothes, and they, as long as the scene is safe, they go in and the police officer stands way off to the background and lets the clinician do their thing. And like I said, we would rather them go voluntarily to the crisis center than voluntarily to the ED. And I think everybody would rather have that, including NRVCS. So it might be a thing where they're going, hey, I would like to go to the hospital for my mental health stuff. And you can say, well, instead of the hospital, give me a second. Call co-response over. She or he can explain the crisis center and say, this is a way better option for what you want, because it really is. And then we take the Radford and you guys go back to doing, like that.
So the proper sequence to ask for you guys would be to call
Just tell dispatch
NRV and ask them
Yeah.
if co-response.
if there's one working. And like I said, anytime between right now, 10 a.m. and midnight, there should be one working, unless it's they don't work holidays because we can't pay them that much. But to be honest, we have a very limited budget. But other than holidays, and even some of those, if we can finagle it right, but yeah, we're available for, especially if someone wants to go voluntarily, because we'd rather them go to the crisis center.
Thank you for your presentation. Is any other questions or comments for?
Well, if you have any, the last slide is my email address and phone number. That's my personal cell phone number, so don't just go giving that out to anybody, but we don't mind, I don't mind you guys having it, and I answer the phone I would say, since I don't have most of your phone numbers, I have like 1 or 2 of your phone numbers. Text me first and say, this is such and such EMS or such and such fire, we have a question for you, and then call, because I won't answer the phone if I don't have this. But yeah, please reach out to me or Patrick. Patrick's my coworker. He's kind of the brains behind the operation, and we can help you out as much as we can. Thank you.
Thanks, Joey.
Thank you. You guys enjoy your meeting. Hopefully it's short. Thank you again.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Have a good night.
You too.
Okay, next item on our agenda is election of officers for the commission. I think I'm correct in turning over the chair to co-chair for the election of chairman.
Absolutely. Floor is now open for the nominations for the office of chairman. Floor is now open for nominations for the office of chairman.
I nominate Steve
Steve
Shealy.
Shealy. Steve Shealy's been nominated. Are there any further nominations for office of chairman? Hearing none, move the nominations to be closed. And then Steve be nominated unanimously by the board. Commission.
Thank you for that. It is an honor working with you guys. Moving on, the floor is now open for nominations for the office of vice chair.
Nominate Billy Hanks.
Billy Hanks has been nominated. Floor is still open. Are there any further nominations? Any further nominations? Nominations are closed and Chief Hanks is elected as co-chairman unanimously.
Thank you.
We still do secretary since she's technically, okay. Floor is now open for the office of secretary. She does an outstanding job.
She does.
Floor is still open for office of secretary. Any further nominations? Hearing none, nominations will be closed. Bonnie Rutherford, Secretary for 2025 by unanimous vote. Thank you, Bonnie. Okay, meeting dates for 2025. I got this on my list, but I don't, does everybody else have this? Just okay, typically, we're on the third Thursday of every month. June 19th is a federal holiday. That sometimes conflicts with the Southwest Convention.
Southwest week before.
It's the week before this year.
June sixth through, or sixth, I think. Sixth through the 15th, I think.
Since that is a holiday, be any objection to moving that a week forward, which would be the 26th? Okay, the next one we may have to modify would be October 16th, which could be conflicting with a VT football schedule.
We don't know yet.
We don't know.
They've only posted like the first
Okay.
4 or 5 games.
Yeah, some of these are kind of a moving target, we do alter. Well, we'll just leave it on the 16th and then we'll modify as needed. November, December, we typically combine those two because of holidays and hunting season. December the 11th. I know my calendar's not full a year in advance. So the meeting dates will be February 20th, March 20th, April 17th, May 15th, June 26th, July 17th, August 21st, September 18th, October 16th, and December 11th. Do I hear a motion to set those dates as our meeting dates? I heard a motion in seconds.
Who seconded?
All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Meeting dates for 2025 are set. Administrative reports, Supervisor Kitts.
Y'all are quiet this December and y'all decide y'all don't wanna speak. Is the owl messing y'all up? Everybody's like whispering. I can barely hear Billy over here. So, hope everybody had a good, safe holidays. Thank y'all for doing what you do. December is always a tough time for everybody because of scheduling and family and everything else, but I wanna say thank you. And from everybody in the county, thank you. If you heard from Monday's meeting, this is something I've talked to everybody about, except I talked to Christiansburg just the other day and I still gotta go to Blacksburg. We're gonna push forward with a study and we've recommended this to the board. We're gonna discuss it some more. And this is to be able to look at, we're gonna hire an outside agency or looking to hire an outside agency that did Roanoke counties and do an evaluation of the entire county's capabilities and project that forward to make sure we fill in any gaps, to make sure that we fully integrate volunteers and career staff, but to make sure that it's completely transparent and everybody knows exactly what's going on, how it's gonna be done, and where we're going with it. This is something I've talked to every single one of y'all about, I believe, that it was a hope that we could get this done. But as we begin to grow as a county, we've exceeded our growth, about half as fast as we thought. We thought we were gonna 20-year plan, we did it in about 10. So we need to play catch up. But that's why we're hiring an outside agency. So you know and you can see the reports and you know exactly what's going on. But the best thing we can do is to integrate. I think we've been doing a good job. I've heard great things about everybody coming back and feedback and everything else, and I appreciate that. Talked to Billy and Drew Tuesday. We're gonna sit down with them here. Michael's gonna set it up so I can go over there and just talk and listen and get their concerns and everything else, because the big thing for this report to do is to look at the county as a whole. So we can make sure that certain departments aren't getting stressed, certain ones aren't getting squeezed, certain ones aren't getting the resources that they need to be successful. And having an outside agency come in and look at the map, because some of you know this, some of you don't. When I first got on, this was an important board for me. So I had the county staff put together a map of the entire county to include zoning, power, water, and EMS and fire radius, so they all overlap on one map. So I could look at it and process it on how it's gonna grow and where the gaps were and things like that. But I look at it a little differently. I look at it differently than you would, I look at it differently than they would. And it's better to have an outside agency come in and say, hey, this is where you're good, this is where you could be better. And it's gonna match the growth of the county. But I wanted to tell it to you, even though I've come around and talked to each of you individually, I wanted to make sure that you know, and this is on record, that this is gonna be a public thing so everybody can see it. I talked to a couple of Christiansburg Town Council and let them know that they're gonna be able to see this report, same as anybody else. So just wanted to let you guys know and say that we're gonna be able to push forward this. We officially announced it on Monday, and we'll be moving forward. It's gonna incorporate the towns and the county as far as responses go overall, not to inhibit anybody's independence, but to make sure that we're fully integrated for the safety of all residents. So I think that's the biggest one. Yeah. So I hope everybody had a good holiday and Merry Christmas. So
You have a timeline for this? I mean, like, is the study gonna start tomorrow? Is it gonna start next month? Is it gonna go out for an RFP or?
Michael?
The board-
Michael or you?
The board has to take formal action on it and appropriate money. We think there's a cooperative language for the procurement, so we don't think we'll have to go out for an RFP, right? So that's the plan, and I think we're gonna talk about it at a near future board meeting, so we can get official consensus and then appropriate the funds for it. I would say if
I'm a
the
little ahead of
board,
myself.
if the board formally approves it all, it could, a purchase order could be cut in a couple months.
It's not an immediate thing. This is something that, again, I've talked to, and I haven't talked to the towns about, but it's something to help us move forward. We're growing faster than we can catch up, and we need to make sure that all of y'all are taken care of and you've got the ability and the tools to be successful. So I've talked to the members. We haven't done it officially. I did the announcement that we're gonna look at this, so I apologize if I make it sound like this is a done deal. It should be, but I can't make a promise on that, but
Not binding the board.
I feel comfortable being able to move this forward to advance it with the other members. Because at the end of the day, it helps all of us. So is that better? Is that a little more ambiguous as opposed to sounding such a heavy, just wanna drop it on. Just wanna let you know, the first week of December is no good for me, so ever. That's mama's and me time, so just letting you know. If you don't see me at the beginning of December at the meetings, that's why.
Supervisor Kids, communication for the town, Tuesday night you were at the council meeting at Councilman Wilson, Councilman Hockett is represented as emergency services for the town of Christiansburg, so we need to include them in any communications that we're doing moving forward. We had a work session last night. The study was brought up briefly in that work session last night, but I told them that I didn't know of any solid plans for it. I knew you had brought it up in the meeting Monday night. So I think moving forward, communications between myself, Josh, and then Councilman Wilson, Councilwoman Hockett would be appropriate on that.
Oh, absolutely. This is not a singular thing. This is make sure we talk to everybody and be completely transparent with everything that we do.
Yeah.
Had a wonderful talk with Councilwoman Hicks. So it's wonderful talking after that meeting. So I think we'll be able to move forward with that. So, but I'll be around as soon as you get with Michael. I'll be out there, and as soon as you guys want to get with him, I'll come over there.
I think to build on that too is we're kind of drafting scope of work, all those kind of details. And once we kind of work through the board, then we can start sharing draft of, here's what we think we need to look at, where are we missing. But the idea is it's comprehensive. It's going to try to look at everything. And then we can get that feedback. And then also reference the Virginia Tech Rescue Squad as involving the university, but really pulling in the rescue squad since Blacksburg Fire is really the primary on that. And then certainly the two towns.
I think it's a good idea. I support it.
Apologize, I said to VT at the Monday meeting, I don't have my notes in front of me, so I apologize for not making sure that we integrate the county, two towns, and the university,
That's perfect.
as they walk me back on my definitive marks.
We will let you know too, when the appropriations coming forward with the board, we'll let you know that too, but it will be after we circle back with you, like Chris said.
And I think, with the appropriation, the idea is the county's gonna pay for it, not asking the towns to pay for it, but the towns will pay, it's stuff with everything, so.
Oh, one other thing, I talked to Chief Hanks about this the other day, just mentioning offhand. I know I haven't been to the recruiting and the retention stuff. I know we still need to deal with a little bit of the retention side with you guys. But the recruiting wise, we need to make sure we step this up because the county has the platform to be able to do it. We need to make sure that you're supported in the recruits that you need to be successful. And we really need to kind of get your ideas and push forward with this so we can put the platform out so we can start pulling more volunteers in. So look hard at that. I know y'all meet separately on that, but if you don't put a hard deadline on yourselves, you're just going to keep kicking the can down the road. So let's get a little more definitive with it so we can get the ball rolling to help you guys as much as possible. Okay, now I'm done.
County Administrator, Ms. Hill.
We had our organizational meeting Monday night, as you just had, and Supervisor April DeMott is our new chair. Steve Fitchkowski is still our vice chair. And as you can see, Supervisor Kitts was reappointed to this group, as he wished to be. I know that we had a great cheer last year, and April will do a great job this year as well. Bonnie and Michael and I talked a little bit about the memorandum of agreement and about the fact that some of you have finished your year end is December 31st, and we talked about the county's auditor will do your work for you. Since those, I wanted to get feedback from you. You can tell me now, or you can tell me later, or tell one of them. But since we signed those agreements after your year had started, if you want to go ahead and do what you've always done for December 31st, that's okay. You can turn that in, and then we'll get started with next year. But if you want to go through this process with our firm, we can do that this year as well. And for people that have different fiscal years, we'll go on, and if your year end is June 30th or whatever, we'll get in touch with you and let you know what we need and that kind of thing. We'll try to not make it painful. And I know that budget is on the agenda in a few minutes, but I do just want to say that if you have any other things that you need to request in the budget, if you can let us know that tonight if possible, or as soon as possible, we need to make sure that everything's included that we need to know about. You have anything?
Jason?
I don't have anything this month, Steve.
Okay. Old business, county special ops team, Tyler?
So, I'll be quick, but we met, the group that's been meeting, discussing this from the beginning, met on the 8th. And we discussed a few things. We discussed membership of the team, so we discussed who was gonna be on the team to start. It was actually pretty easy to decide because we had kind of just start throwing names out there of all the people that are currently very active in Swiftwater and dive. And we got to 24 pretty quick. So right now the team is primarily the membership's consisting of members from several agencies across the county that are currently very active in Swiftwater and dive, but they're also very active with their departments in general. We talked about training. We're going to go ahead and start training as a team. So we're doing no dates have been set yet. We'll be doing a Swiftwater and dive training sometime in the next month or so. We'll likely be at the Christiansburg Aquatic Center since it's so cold out. But that'll just be to get people familiar with Swiftwater or surface water and dive for the ones that aren't as familiar with it. And then there will be a rope training sometime in the spring where hopefully we'll be working with Virginia Tech Rescue and Blacksburg Rescue. And then in the summer, we've discussed doing a night ops water training. So we'll be going out and doing some diving and swiftwater stuff at night. Other than that, we got to work with the 911 Center to discuss a few things as far as like our active and paging tones and stuff like that. But that's we submitted a budget request like we discussed in the last Fire Rescue Commission meeting. But other than that, that's about what we've got right now. We're having another meeting with the whole membership of the team on the 12th of February. And that'll be here. Okay, that's all I got.
Any questions or comments for Tyler? Looks like you got a good plan going here. Hearing no comments or questions, moving on to, unless there's any other old business. Skip. Moving on to new business. Fiscal year 26 budget. You should have a handout that's got all the details of the budget request from all the agencies. As in the past, we can go around the room and talk about budget requests. For fire, no additional funds requested. If I get any of these wrong, let me know. Okay. Christiansburg Fire Department, no additional funds. Elliston Fire, no additional funds. Longshot McCoy Fire, no additional funds. Reiner Fire, no additional funds. Rescue Squad, Blacksburg Rescue, I don't believe they're represented tonight. They're asking for an increase of 2.4%, which for the recurring funds, which equals $3,532, which is basically an inflation compensation. Christiansburg Rescue Squad, no additional funds. Longshot McCoy Rescue. And I'll say right off the bat, some of this is just kind of trying to be an educated guess as we could on what the cost of operation and maintaining the pharmacy. $6,000 for recurring funds, which to restock consumed and expired medications for the amount of $2,500. Inventory control module, the initial cost on that is $1,000 for the pharmacy. And a patient care reporting module that the Office of EMS used to fund for us, but after their financial meltdown, they no longer do that, so there's a $2,500 yearly cost for that ESO reporting module. And then for Long Shop Rescue on the one-time funds, it's $7,500 for the initial cost of stocking the pharmacy. And the inventory control module for I guess I misspoke on that. The inventory control module was $1,000 yearly cost. It was $3,000 for the initial setup. So that equals 10,500. So with a total increase of 16,500. Shop rescue. Minor rescue, Jason. Do you want to?
So I've got 5,500 in there for our pharmacy stuff. Like Steve said, that's just kind of a ballpark guess. Until we order all of it and get it in, that's just, like going by and just figuring, that's kind of what I've come up with. I also got one-time funding request for a fully functioning training mannequin. We're looking at trying to do more simulations to help with recruitment and training of our members. We can run them through simulations instead of having somebody sitting there. We can do other things. We can do cardiac arrest and so forth like that. So we're requesting funds for that to help with recruitment, retention, training.
Okay, thank you, Chief. Special ops team.
We covered this a lot in the last meeting, but it's, so the recurring request is $5,000 for, maintenance and repairs, inspections and testing on scuba equipment, which has to be done regularly. Maintenance on any boats that are utilized by the team. The big cost in there is $35,000 for training. That's to allow us to be able to get a training vendor or like VAVRS or Virginia Department of Fire programs to come in and teach an HTR class that may not be funded through the state in the area. And then $5,000 for uniforms for the team. And then the one-time costs is to get the scuba equipment that needs to be replaced. Some of the Swiftwater stuff that needs to be replaced. There is some new divers in Reiner, so that would help get them some equipment that they need. And that's $25,000. That also includes a communication system for the divers, so they can talk to the people on the surface while they're underwater. That's probably the most expensive part out of all of that. $20,000 for rope equipment, and another $5,000 for one-time uniforms to get us going out the gate.
Okay.
I probably should have asked Tyler this because we sit next to each other. But is some of that one-time money to buy equipment? That's
Pretty much all of it is to buy equipment, is the one time.
yeah, I get to see it. I get that one. Very good.
Definitely vote for the underwater comm gear with it, because there's not anything much more stressful than somebody on top of the water not knowing what's going on underneath. Especially when, most of our group I consider family members anyway, but my son's been part of that group, and it's pretty nerve-wracking when they're under there and you're not sure what's going on. So that's something we've talked about for a long time, so it really needs to be a key for us. Scuba. Okay, well, you guys can all see the numbers there. The additional recurring funds requested, the total there is $65,032. Additional one-time funds requested are $79,625. Now, the amount of money undistributed that we had to work with was $8,345. Floor is open for discussion.
Make a motion, we submit the budget as presented.
Motion's made, do I hear a second? Discussion.
It's all, most of the costs on there that's one-time funding and reoccurring's all due to the pharmacy issues, that we knew was coming, we didn't know when it was coming, everybody's gotta comply. I think that part of the request is reasonable, and we've agreed to work on the, special ops team, and stuff like that, so we're really not, the increase overall, the ongoing in funds is really not that bad of a figure, overall compared to the big budget as a whole, so.
Any other comments? All in favor of the motion on the floor for the board to approve the budget request to send to the Board of Supervisors? Is that be the correct way to say that? All in favor of the motion, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion is carried. I think that's about the quickest we've ever gone through that. Any other new business? Discipline reports. Blacksburg Fire, sir. Christiansburg Fire.
I just wanna thank, Michael and Tyler and the McPhillips group, for the testing process we run last Friday. For the two openings that we have in the town, and Michael's got some openings also. We think the testing process went very well. I think it's something that I'd like us to see us continue to do as we have openings, and of course we'll help you, with everything, to set up everything whenever you have openings. I did purchase a Kaiser sled for the agility test, and they delivered today, and that'll be at the training ground for anyone to use if they want to use it. It's there for county use for the whole thing. I purchased that through our training money that we have by the town, and I just thank everybody that helped out with that process. It went really well. I think the county and us both got some good candidates out of the deal. Quit taking all my people.
Christian Regreski. Virginia Tech.
Nothing.
Ryder Rescue.
I still got open spots for anybody that needs EVOC next week. Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. If you got anybody that needs it, in class 3, send them my way. And we're still continuing to grow. That's all I got.
Ryder Fire.
No report.
No report. Long Shop. Long Shop Rescue, I'll just report on the status of our pharmacy. Construction is complete, and we're getting a date scheduled for the inspection. It's ready for the Board of Pharmacy to inspect. Appreciate all the county's assistance on that. We've got a first class setup. Hospitals are supposed to keep doing our drug boxes until April 15th, so we should be on board to go live before then, so.
Good news, right?
Absolutely. Stress level has been a lot lower than.
Right.
Michael, can you see?
I've just got a couple things real quick to piggyback off what Chief Hanks said. The testing process that we ran through last week, I don't think could have gone any better. We had to change some things last minute, but I think it ended up working out for the best, being able to run that test at the rec center. I think for the future use, it'll work out really well whenever we do have openings across the county. The only other thing I have, and it's probably part of a broader conversation, but just wanted to throw it out there. I met with our finance department earlier this week about insurance payments that come after accidents that happen. We had one earlier this year and there was some confusion on it, and to make it more streamlined, to make it easier, I think the finance department would really like to start seeing those invoices just being sent straight to the finance department rather than them getting a check from the insurance and then writing a check to the department on the back end. So not anything we have to act on tonight, but it was one of those things that got brought up that it seems like it would just make more sense to do it that way. So if we do have an accident that occurs, that invoice would just be sent to the county would pay the bill out of the insurance payment. So just something to be thinking about.
How do they want it billed to the county or still billed to the individual department, and then we bring the bill in and then they would do the check?
Get the bill sent to the department and then bring
Bring it in?
that to Susan. Yeah.
Okay.
that would be the
Yeah,
best.
that's simple enough.
If everybody's good with that now, we can move in that direction.
That way you won't, it'll help the whole process, like Michael said, you won't have to front the money and we'll make sure that we get it filed appropriately and can just take care of some of that paperwork for you.
Yeah, and then the only thing we'd have to do is pay the deductible out of our operating money, and the county would pick up the insurance check part of it. So
Right.
that's it.
Anything else? The monthly call totals and the yearly call totals are in I think everybody got a handout on that. Calendar year of 2024, there's 50,109 calls for service. Service calls. Anything else needs to come before the commission? Next meeting, February the 20th. This meeting's adjourned. Thank you.